It's Wednesday, October 7th, 2015. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, we review Colorful and Rick and Morty.
Let's do this.
So, a lot of you bother me. I'd say easily a full third of all the messages I get through like G Plus and YouTube are you people asking me when we're going to do more Geeknights Presents Utena.
You get some time.
Yeah.
What do you think this is?
Basically, if you noticed, we were going strong on that until the sun came out, and then didn't happen much for a while. But the other thing was we deal with a lot of copyright crap on YouTube. Like just for like even our panels will get copyrighted sometimes. I got to go deal with it. But the Utena videos have generated more copyright lawsuit threat nonsense than everything else we have ever done combined.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wonder why we stopped doing Radio Free Equestria way back, that's one of the reasons. So luckily, the reason I'm talking about this is that the biggest threat to that show has been averted because I was getting not just, the claim it and monetize it nonsense that I get from like Jan Endemol or all the like, I'm the Italian distributor of Utena. We don't understand fair use in this country. I got straight up, like the videos were all taken down, blocked globally by King Records. So I had to tread a little carefully there. So the long story short is I fought one of them, the proper way. And something happened that has never happened before. So honestly, props to King Records. They released the claim on the video based on my dispute about 4 hours after I did it. Meanwhile, like all these other garbage companies, they don't respond. They either wait the full 30 days before the copyright thing disappears, or they send me, like they reinstate it, and then I have to go through the like one step away from lawyers, DMCA takedown, DMCA counter notification. Here's my address. You have 15 days to actually sue me and prove to Google that you sued me. So King Records actually dealt with it. And if any of you are interested in how this stuff goes down, I will link to you the specific words that I wrote that are the like official, legally binding.
Yes, give people legal advice when you're
I am not giving
a lawyer.
legal. I was about to say I am not giving legal advice.
If you give legal advice, it's still you're giving legal advice, even if you say you're not.
No, but I'm not. I'm not advising you to do anything. All I'm saying is
I am not advising you to do anything, but do this.
I'm not. I wasn't about to say
saying
do
you're
this.
not doing something still doesn't
Scott,
make it so that you're not doing it. You have to not do it.
You have to think like
I'm not jumping up and down.
You have to think like an Ez Sedai. So listen to the exact words that I'm about to say. I am not a lawyer, and I am not advising you to do anything, but here is what I did when I received takedowns on my clearly fair use videos on YouTube. A real lawyer who was not paid by me and was not giving me legal advice, looked at this and did not tell me I was a moron. So take that as you will, but this is what I did, and it worked because actually, seriously, King Records is the only organization in all the time I've used YouTube that has ever actually responded to one of my disputes correctly and in a timely fashion. I salute you because seriously, that never happens. And that's the bar we're at when it comes to fair use.
Also, there's plenty of, videos on YouTube with Utena music in them that aren't taken down. I can still watch Oh Baby Baby whenever I need to. But I guess that's not
Utena music.
Yeah, but
it's
still.
also weird, like, because I get to see like the exact clips that they trigger on, and it is surprising sometimes what 3-second clip these things will peg onto. Mm-hmm. So that's what I've been doing with my spare time since I got back from Australia.
All right, so here's a tiny news, but it's exciting for people who care, and people who don't care don't need to care, so just say it and be done with it. But they just confirmed one of the best animes recently, Yoa Pedal, will have a third season. Also, there's a movie that came out in the summer that I still haven't seen.
So the third season will cover the last 50 feet of the race, right?
They finished that race at the end of the second season.
At the end of the second season?
Yep.
When did that race start?
towards the end of the first season.
See, Initial D.
It was a 3-day race.
Initial D
3 days.
would start a race at
Initial D races in real time last like minutes. This is a 3-day race. It actually goes at the same pace as Initial D if you measure it by real time.
That is true because Initial D would start a race.
It might even be faster than Initial D.
At the end of an episode, get to the very end of the race as the entire next episode, and then finish the race at the beginning of the third episode.
Everything should be like Fist of the North Star. Fight starts and ends within a minute.
Well, you know what's
Boom,
you know
dead.
what? I can name at least one show that is also like
The second season of Fist of the North Star.
2 shows, but no, one show. A man who punches people at one time.
Well, that you have not seen enough of, so you do not realize there are many fights he gets into where he simply does not punch for a while.
I'm considering a fight does not begin until a punch is thrown.
Many other people are fighting, though, but not him. He's standing back and not punching.
You know what?
Or he doesn't get his opportunity to punch until a bunch of talking and exposition and other things have happened.
You know, as much as I make fun of that stuff, I mean, I like Slayers, right? Like, we all like Slayers. But
Slayers, which is also...
Slayers is just
We'll talk about that in a second.
It's just them standing around going, mama, but with full power, blah, blah, blah. It's Dragon Ball with good, funny fishman jokes.
Dragon Ball also has funny fishmen.
Yeah, they're not as funny. I think Slayers
It's just not-
has the highest form, the highest tier of funny fishman.
Yes, it does. Anyway, so... Yeah, there's new Yo Pedal season, but the real thing I want to talk about is a Geek Bite of Hulu. Now, you might say, but Hulu's so old, and that's a weird thing to Geek Bite. What the hell? Well, here's what happened. I had Crunchyroll subscription, and with my Crunchyroll subscription, I was watching many things. I watched that show where the kid goes to the farm school, Silver Spoon.
Oh, yeah.
I
That's a good show.
watched a little bit of some weird shows like Horror News and,
Thing is,
fairy folk tales.
most of the anime I was watching was free Crunchyroll. Of course, Emily had Crunchyroll, actually, so I didn't have to use the free tier, just if she wasn't home and I didn't want
Yeah,
to
the free
log
tier
in.
has ads, though. But, I was watching Monogatari, right? Back in the day, I also watched a lot of shows on Crunchyroll. Like, I watched some Fist of the North Star episodes on there that I couldn't download as easily, and I watched all of Galaxy Express and Captain Harlock. I watched a lot of shows on Crunchyroll.
But recently, everything I was watching was on Funimation.
Yeah, but it got to the point where, like, a lot of shows I wanted to watch, weren't on Crunchyroll. And the ones on Crunchyroll, I was finishing up, and they weren't being replaced by new shows on there.
Yep.
So I'm like, well, this Hulu's got this new service. I already had Netflix and cleaned it out and canceled that to switch to Crunchyroll. Hulu just added no commercial mode, and well, South Park just started.
Now, no commercial mode on Hulu. We're not going to talk about it today because it's a big topic, but that is a big goddamn deal.
Right, so...
That's a game changer.
So I'm like, well, I'll see no commercials on Hulu if I pay, and I'll just cancel Crunchyroll. And I can at least watch South Park with no ads and a bunch of other things that I want to watch. So I did this, and you know what? First of all, the only shows that are on Crunchyroll that I wanted to watch that aren't on Hulu are those weird tiny ones like the Yamashibais and the folk tales and the horror news.
Yep.
Right? All the major animes, the Yoa Pedals, the Monogataris, all those shows, they're on Hulu also. So what the fuck do I need Crunchyroll for?
Is Yurikuma in there?
Yes.
Lupin Fujigomine?
Yes. Every Funimation show is on there, as well as every series of Slayers from original to Revolution.
Whoa, so I can give all those Slayers DVDs back to Laura and I can cancel my Funimation account.
Yes. Almost every anime that you probably give a shit about watching is on there. Right? Samurai Champloo is on there. Right? Everything is on there.
Is Ergo Proxy on there?
Yes,
Whoa,
it is.
we should watch that show because we got one episode away from the episode that Daryl Surratt sold me on finishing the show with, the game show episode.
There are so many not every show ever is on there. Evangelion is not on there.
Yeah, that's fine. I have DVDs.
Okay. Trigun is. So is the movie. There's a ton of anime movies on there.
Whoa, right. The Trigun movie that we were excited about and then literally never watched.
There are so many animes. Every episode of Sailor Moon is still going strong. I mean, they're eventually going to finish it, right? There is so many animes on there. You don't need another anime service. It's better than Crunchyroll, and it's not even anime specific.
You know what this means, anime nerds?
And this doesn't even count the not animes on Hulu.
Anime is mainstream. Anime specific internet streaming services do not need to exist in the long run.
But anyway, so everything is on there. Cancel whatever else you're using. Pay for the ad-free Hulu. Watch your South Parks and your animes. And in fact, I'm going to review an anime tonight that I saw on there. So.
Here's the only question. Will the end game for Hulu now be prices go up or ads come in anyway?
I don't know. If ads come in anyway, I'll cancel it.
Because only one of those
the price
two...
going up depends on how much the price is. One other thing, though, Hulu does separate the sub shows and the dub shows, right?
Yep.
There are some shows on there where they do not have the sub. For example, Utena is on there with no sub, the only dub.
Do not watch the Utena dub.
Even Captain Tyler is on there, but I don't think there's a sub on there.
I didn't know there was a dub.
Well, I don't know. Captain Tyler is on there.
There's a Captain Tyler dub?
I think so.
I mean, there wasn't
I'll check
one.
it again.
When
I only browsed through cursorily.
When I first watched Captain Tyler on VHS, there wasn't a dub. I actually wanted to get a dub because I thought my parents would like the show. And there wasn't one, at least one that I could find. But in the pre-internet days at Suncoast. All right, so
there's a lot of fucking shit on
little
there.
news here. From 2002 to 2015, Manglobe existed, an animation studio that made anime you might have heard of. And the news recently was that they went bankrupt.
Well, if you look, it's like they didn't necessarily make bad shows. They just made unpopular shows, and they made them relatively well, so it must have cost a lot to make those shows, and they didn't make a lot of money from those shows. So it's no surprise that they're bankrupt.
Well, it was interesting.
The surprise is that they were able to make as many shows as they did.
When I heard from Anime World Order that Manglobe went bankrupt, at first I thought, wow, really? They were really good. But then I tried to think back of what they did.
I didn't realize, I had to look up a list of what they did because I never really knew who they were.
Everything that I knew off the top of my head was super old, and I didn't know they were responsible for anything they've done in the last, pretty much since 2009.
Cool name though, Man Globe.
What if it's Manglobe?
I don't know. That's cool too.
But I mean,
I got a lobe, man.
If you look at the list of stuff they did, I'm not talking about real like money made or anything, but in terms of what the average anime fan, have they heard of this show and do they know anything about it? In America, especially, it's pretty much a linear graph down from things people all heard of to things no one's heard of. I mean, Ergo Proxy was widely known, even if people didn't watch it. Mijiko and Hachin, a lot of people were really excited about. Samurai Champloo, a lot of people call that Cowboy Bebop too. And yeah, Gangsta was probably the most recent thing any of you paid attention to. And I guess they're gone now. So
bye-bye.
It appears that they might have been insolvent for, quote, some time.
How do they make animes while they were... I don't understand how so many companies do this, where they have no money, but they somehow keep doing stuff.
Because as a company, you have a credit line that you just draw from for operational expenses.
Oh, so they're just using credit to pay everyone,
Yeah,
and then eventually they can't pay the debt, and the debt's due, and then they're done.
Yeah, you have a rolling debt, and as long as you continue to service that debt and have good credit, you can just keep generating more debt and rolling it forward and rolling it forward and rolling it forward. You can also get short-term business continuance. There's all sorts of shit that can go on.
How can we get some of that?
So what we need to do, I'm not going to say what we need to do, because if I say it all out loud, it's just a blueprint for fraud.
Oh, how do we do it the not fraud way?
Well, it's not really fraud. It's just you make a company and you invest all your money into it. Like you and I put all our money in a company.
But then my money could be gone.
Yeah,
what do I use to buy groceries?
Our money's in the company.
I need groceries.
And we pay ourselves.
I need to pay rent.
Yeah. So we pay ourselves salary from our own money.
But then I don't have to pay tax again. I already paid tax to get that money from my boss.
Yeah,
and now I got to pay tax again.
Cost of doing business. But then here's what happens.
I'm paying Social Security twice. Am I getting more Social Security payout later?
This is a company.
When I'm an old man?
So then you get at least a few other people, or maybe one other person, to invest in the company and give you a bunch of operating capital. Then you use that operating capital and your business plan to get lots of loans and run off the loans, and you pay yourself salary, and eventually you've paid yourself more salary than you put into the company. And if the company does fail, basically it was all free money because the company goes out of business. You don't get sued.
They don't come after my anything?
Limited liability. Corporation, that kind of thing. Those things fundamentally make a firewall between your money.
But if the people who lose out then are the investors who basically just gave me money.
Yeah, the investors and the creditors lose out when a company like that fails. Though sometimes they turn it around
because the money's got to come from somewhere.
Because if the company actually did anything and that happens,
they own all that stuff.
One of those people could flip it to someone who's willing to take a risk, and they'll usually pay them enough to make it to where they at least broke even.
So anything we actually did, like make an anime, now becomes someone else's property.
Yeah, so
we lose all the things that belong to the business. business. Like if we bought computers with those loan monies to work with,
Those all go away.
we lose all our computers.
But if I buy a computer with the salary I was paid by the company, I keep that because that's mine. So, yeah, we should start a company maybe.
All
and
right.
I hope no one who would ever invest in us just listen to this.
Oh, okay. I guess that's the part that is the problem.
Oh, yeah, and one last thing. Date Nighto. We have another game, and it's a cute little game. It's original IP from the people inside Date Now. This is Lindsay Wood's game, basically.
A non-licensed game. Whoa.
Hustle Cat is it's a dating game where you work basically at a magical cat cafe, and there are cute cat boys and cat girls that are actually, think Wolf's Rain, like cat and person.
So it's not like
It's not furries. It's not Mekomimi.
It's not How to Full Boyfriend.
Nah,
where
it's check it out. Here's the cat version of Mason, and here's the Mason version of
so
Mason.
does he actually transform into a cat, or is
well,
it just a persona?
There's some magic and magical secrets, so I'm not going to spoil that.
Is it a persona or not?
It's not a persona.
Okay.
But you'll see. This is a cheap little game that I'm pretty sure a lot of the listeners of Geeknights will be really into because it's that kind of. You know what it is? It is an IDEO game. Things of the day. I have the tiniest, cutest thing of the day. So someone realized if you take every iteration of Snorlax and all the mainline Pokemon games, it took him 17 years to wake up. Because if you put them all in a line, it is a very slow animation of him slowly getting up. And in 2014, he is standing and awake.
Mm-hmm.
He literally is laying on his bag, and he kind of rolls down his side and falls over, and rolls down his side again, falls over. Then he kicks his arms up, and eventually he sits up, and he scratches his mouth. Then he sits there. Then he scratches his belly. Then his arms are in the air, and then he stands up.
Well, someone took a long time to play that song on the Poke Flute.
Well, they were using a Nintendo Wii controller to do it.
So this is kid named Murray.
Murray?
And a long time ago, when Murray was still a kid, he was on this TV show as the, take the guest from the audience to participate in a magic trick that was on TV. This magician was doing a card trick on British English television. And Murray comes out of the crowd, or maybe he was prepared in advance to come and, be the, the audience participant, right? And, the guy doing the magic trick, he's like, hey, I got 3 cards here, right? And Murray's like, no, there's not. There's 4. There's 2 of them stuck together. And he he just ruins the guy's trick, right? So basically, here's a video of many, 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 many years later, recently, this magician who had his TV appearance ruined by the kid Murray is, of course, reunited with Murray as an adult.
This sounds delightful.
Yeah, so there you go.
I think the pro mode in Magic Tricks is to have the obvious way someone would do it, that they can reveal it, and you have another thing that's going on.
The thing is, he redoes the trick and with a different method, and you can you don't even have to be good at magic to see the method that is used. If you can't tell the method that is used now, that's really sad.
Not everyone's Penn and Teller with their close-up magic and their.
But I mean, sometimes like Penn and Teller have that show where it's like they try to fool them or whatever.
Yep.
And a lot of times I'm like, I know it was something with that box, but I don't know what.
Yep.
This is like you can just see if you're watching the video exactly in doing everything.
Yeah, because when I saw their show, like I've seen their shit like forever. Like I know almost every one of their like acts and everything. And I saw them with my mom in Vegas not that long ago, and despite them doing a trick that I was 100% sure I figured out, at least like you, like, it's something with that vase. Like they're doing something. And then it got me. It actually got me 100%. I was so wrong. It was ridiculous. Because they do the thing where they're like, oh, by the way, here's what we did.
There's actually a forum the magicians talk in. It's called like Genie or something.
Do you got to prove you're a magician to get in there?
No, that's the thing. Is like they talk about how all these tricks are done, and they're super anti-revealing tricks. But it's a public forum. You can just you can go in there and see how many tricks are done. So if you can, I forget where the forum is, but if you find it, you can learn a lot if you care about learning magic.
In the meta moment, the book club book was The Wheel of Time, book 1.
Next, The Square of Time.
And we're
the Square of Space.
Well, I'm on the 4th side of time at this point because I'm most of the way done with the 4th book.
I'm like 90% done.
With
the 4th book.
I'm about as into it as I was. Just kind of keep plodding along. I don't know if I could have been into these books if they were coming out slowly, but because they go at
if
a
you had to
very-
wait for the next one and
I-
you forgot the previous one, like say a Prince of Nothing situation.
I'm gonna reread all the Prince of Nothing books leading up to when the next one comes out because I pulled out one of the old books because I had an ebook of it, and I went to like a random page and I started flipping through it, and then I ended up reading like 4 chapters before I realized what I was doing, and I had to stop.
That Emperor taking some shortest paths across the steppe.
Oh,
The
man.
step be trackless.
Trackless
Trackless
steps. Defects of the womb. I don't think a lot of people realize I'm referencing something when I call some fault they have a defect of the womb, but I digress.
All right.
So, since there's a problem we've had for a while, partly because we've been busy, that Scott and I are watching completely different sets of media.
We're
other
not
than
doing
South
any more
Park.
meta moments besides that?
Do we have any more?
I guess
The
not.
next con is MagFest.
The New York Comic Con is this week and we won't be there.
No, fuck that. New York Comic Con is boring.
Okay.
Like, it's not worth going to. Even if you live here and have a free ticket, it's not worth going to. Like, I'm not even joking.
You have to have a really sad weekend, and maybe you really want to buy a comic book.
The only thing is you can at least take the subway there now.
Is there even a guest there that you want to see?
I can't think of a guest there I would want to see that I couldn't either just email or see at a smaller con.
Not this year, anyway.
Yeah. I remember one year I met Gabe and Tycho there because
wasn't Makoto Shinkai there?
he was, yeah. In fact, we were the only people who videoed his interview because no press showed up to it.
A lot of people showed up to it.
Yeah, but no press.
Oh well.
Remember, I stood in the corner with the cameraman videoing the whole thing.
That
because-
movie was not his greatest work.
No, it was not his.
Anyway,
I like Place Promised, I think, the most.
I like Hoshinokoi the most.
I like Hoshinokoi a lot. Hoshinokoi made me cry a lot.
That was what
Every
made him,
time
that was
I've
what
ever
made
wa-
him famous.
Like, to this
Since
day.
then, he's just drawn clouds. That's it's like that was his follow up. Was making drawn clouds.
Well, it's like the Butts that came out that ruined Ghost in the Shell. But yeah, I'm watching a whole bunch of animation. Scott's watching a whole bunch of animation. We're not watching the same animation.
No, Rim likes all these garbage Cartoon Network things.
Yeah, these great Cartoon Network things. I mean, Steven Universe.
That's
is,
not garbage, but I just haven't watched it.
so of all the things I've talked about, because I've been watching, Gravity Falls. That's okay. My Little Pony picked up
did you
again.
finish this? Get to the end of season 2 of Gravity Falls?
No,
that's why you think
started season
that's
2.
why you only think it's okay.
Yeah, well, I like the thing is season 1 as a whole, even with Triangle Guy, was okay. Like I found I only watched Gravity Falls when I was out of all those other shows.
If I would have made Gravity Falls, I would have had what happens at the end of season 2 happen at the end of like episode 5 to make it like a Cowboy Bebop episode 5, and that would have made the show great from the beginning. It's got it's sort of like a Gal Gagar problem where it's like it gets good. But it's like it's good and then it gets great too late, which is better than Gal
well, because
Gagar.
most of the episodes of the first season are basically
one-off random cartoon episodes that
like
have
they're
nothing to do with the
funny.
plot.
Yeah, they're funny, but they're not. They don't have to be plot. But like any Adventure Time episode has more humor in it, even the serious ones, than the average Gravity Falls episode. And Adventure Time crams that into not that many minutes.
Yeah, I like the Adventure Time humor more than the Gravity Falls humor.
Yeah, because Gravity Falls humor is kind of generic. A lot of it's like
I'll take a Choose Goose over anything Gravity Falls says.
I prefer the Choose Bruce. But yeah, so now that Rick and Morty finished the second season, I feel comfortable actually like for real reviewing it. And Scott and Emily watched Colorful while I was in Australia.
Which was a movie. We went on Hulu because he wanted to watch something, and I said, "Wow, I have Hulu now, and there's a bunch of stuff on there. Let's browse through the movie section," which is amazing. And I found an anime movie that looked good that I never saw called Colorful, so I watched. And
How was
Emily
it?
said she read the book, so we watched the movie.
So how was it?
So Colorful is based on this book. I forget who the author's name is.
Oh, you didn't pull. It's your review. I thought you would have all the like info up. I'll pull up ANN.
No, apparently it's a very popular and prolific Japanese novelist, right? And this anime movie I liked it, and is good, but it's not for everybody, and it has issues, right? So the story basically is there's a soul, right? And it starts off in some sort of purgatory heaven kind of place. You can't really tell, but it's like a gray place with souls like lined up, and the camera's like first person. So you can only see what the soul is seeing. And the soul's going to go get in the line to go to the checkout window with the other souls.
Oh, the train. The plot summary here says train station to death.
Oh, it's okay, sure. It's a train station to death, whatever. And this character comes up who's a very anime character and is like, whoa, don't get in that line. You've won the lottery, baby. Yeah, right?
Yeah, already that sounds like a scam.
Yeah, he's
So
like,
if I'm in line to get a train ticket and
He's
someone's like, hey,
he's like, listen, you got another chance at coming back to life and, redeeming your soul and everything. You just got to go, back and live this life. And if you can, live the life well, like a test for a little while, then your soul will go back into like resurrection rotation. Otherwise, you're in deep doo-doo. You're not going to get, to go back to the world of living again. And the soul doesn't really care that much, but eventually it agrees. And the soul wakes up in this body of this kid who you know nothing about the kid because the soul doesn't know, right? It's this kid who died. But basically this kid killed himself or tried to, right? And now this soul with no memory of any previous lives is now in this body and has to like learn about the kid's past and learn about the kid. Like he knows nothing about the kid. He's like, doesn't even know his name or anything, and has to somehow navigate, so many days of life in the living world to redeem itself, right? So it's a pretty interesting setup and story going on there, right? You got movie quality animation going on. The thing that's off about this movie is that it's long. Like, it's just long and
it's
slow.
over 2 hours.
Yeah, this is my kind of style, something long.
Yeah, you like Space Train.
Right,
Galaxy.
it's a lot like that, except even for me, it felt long because there's parts where it's just not progressing. It's just like...
You mean like when the cat in Night of the Galactic Railroad very slowly walks up to the door.
That's progressing artistically
very
and visually.
slowly turns the doorknob. So you get like 4
This
minutes.
is like he goes to school and like nothing new happens at all. There's also some parts where it's like you can't really understand why he's doing what he's doing. Like the motivations are a little messed up story-wise and things like that. But it comes around in the end. I think if it had been tightened up a bit, it's almost like I haven't read the original novel, so I don't know. But it feels like they actually just animated every single chapter in the whole novel.
Wow, I just imagine.
And that's why it is the way it is.
Imagine if The Wheel of Time had a movie or a TV series that did that.
Exactly. But actually stuff happens in every chapter of Wheel of Time. At least people talking in an inn or something.
Yeah, but there's a lot of
coming to a some important decision while talking.
Yeah, but there's also a lot of you're gonna get a long, slow pan around every fucking common room in every inn.
Oh, right, yeah, to cover like the 2 pages of inn description.
Yep, lots of names. You're gonna need like 4,000 actors.
Yeah, and how are you gonna people don't necessarily say their names, so you're gonna have to change dialogue so people call out people's names a lot.
Yep, and the people who like the Wheel of Time would not be happy you missed even one of those.
Anyway, so but yeah, so if you want a serious but quality anime movie that has a lot of, it discusses a lot of, serious topics like suicide, families, Japanese school, testing, right? All kinds of things like that. Then this is worth watching. Maybe fast forward through some boring bits.
It's actually interesting because
life and death.
A big chunk of that core plot is very similar to Haibane Renmei. Did you ever watch that?
I watched some episodes at the beginning.
You didn't watch it all the way through. You don't know what it's about the same thing.
Okay.
It's got a really good end, but like Colorful, according to you at least. I've not seen it, but Haibane Renmei, as beautiful and atmospheric and slice of life, but also about these kinds of issues is also intolerably slow and long at some points. I still liked it, but I feel like they might be cut from the same cloth. I feel like people who have seen both will see an apt comparison between the two.
Yeah, also, Colorful has a few different plot threads, and while the main plot thread resolves nicely and as you would expect it does, there are a few plot threads with different characters, like other kids in the school and things like that resolve in ways that are at least confusing to me, and I felt like, that's how you're wrapping that up?
Nah.
Right? And, the main character, the soul, right? You're sort of on its side until later, and then you're sort of not. And then I guess the movie expects you to like forgive it, but I didn't.
Oh, look at you being judgmental.
You'll see if you ever watch it.
All right, I'll watch it because I gotta
If
see.
you got 3 hours to kill.
What is
Basically, it was long to the point at which like I felt like it was over soon, and then we would press the button to see, and they're like only 2/3 over. What?
Oh, I'm not gonna tell the story now, but I had an experience like that with an independent film that I saw with Emily and Phil and Gia in Providence at a film festival. That
You couldn't leave because it was in a...
Yeah, and I was sitting in the front row, and the creators were in the audience.
Mhm.
But all I will say is there was a point where it had gone on for so long that I was 100% sure it was about to end. That was less than a third of the way through the movie.
Whoa.
How
How long was this?
I don't even know.
What was the actual length?
I don't know.
Well,
Time
you can't
stopped.
Look it up on the IMDb.
I could, but I'm not gonna right now. It's I don't know if I even want to tell people, but don't see that movie.
Great. Now I don't know which movie not to see. Someone out there is going to see it, and they're going to be like, if you would have only told me, I could have avoided.
I don't even want to get into it. That
Alright.
movie, that was an experience that
Was
I
it
had.
at least good? It could be good and ridiculously long. I'm guessing not.
There is like 3 meta perspectives away from my experience. There is a person, place, and time that could appreciate that movie and come away with anything that could be said diplomatically. So it wasn't bad necessarily. It was artistic, and it was, you know what it is? It was outsider cinema.
Uh-huh.
That's how I'm going to describe it.
Sure.
The guys who made the movie were basically like, in the interview at the end, we've never made a movie. We don't know shit about making movies. I work a vineyard, and we just wanted to make a movie. And
Why don't we make a movie like that?
we should.
We have cameras. Just
Yeah.
point them at stuff and then cut all the footage together
All
for
we-
90 minutes and be like, done.
90% of the footage is close-ups of people's faces exerting themselves. So, yeah, we could make that movie.
Why did you choose to see this?
I thought it was a collection of Scandinavian and Nordic shorts, like short films, like 1 to 5 minutes. And this was listed at the end of a long list of shorts, but it was not short.
No.
It
We
was,
could have watched all the shorts and then just left.
yeah, but it was too late. I thought it was a short, and then it ended, and then it turns out that short was just in the movie that never ended. So Rick and Morty. So
You keep talking in an old Jewish man voice a lot, or at least trying to.
Rick and Morty.
And
He's not an old
failing.
Jewish man. He's not Jewish at all. He's just drunk. So Rick and Morty is a recent show. If you have not seen it,
I've seen pictures of like title cards where there's a scientist-looking dude and a kid.
and a kid.
Yeah.
Justin Roiland, Dan Harmon. So it is based on a thing that you should not watch because it is just terrible, called The Adventures of Doc and Marty.
I've never heard of that.
Yeah, it's a short. You know what? It's in the vein of seeing
Is
a
it really?
ghost.
Is that a Back to the Future thing?
Yes, it is basically Doc Brown and Marty McFly, except Doc Brown is probably a creepy pedophile or hebephile, and all his answers to the things they need to do involve tricking Marty into sucking his dick.
So somebody made a Back to the Future sex parody, and
Yes.
someone then turned that
So the same people
into a not Back to the Future, not sex parody.
So
Is that what this is?
so Harmon called that Doc and Marty a bastardization, a pornographic vandalization of Back to the Future.
That is correct. That sounds exactly like what it is.
It's
yes.
in the genre of One Time I Saw a Ghost.
Yes.
So,
Sounds good.
but elements of it were moderately funny, and these guys are pretty funny dudes. So, long story short, they got option to then make a show like that.
So they made something awful, and they got an option to make something like the awful thing, only not awful.
Yeah, I mean,
So a reverse Ren and Stimpy, where he started
Yup.
with the bad one, and then got pulled back in to make the good one.
it is exactly. Imagine if New Ren and Stimpy happened, and then, Cartoon Network went to Ren and Stimpy and we're like, yo, if you tone it back a bit, we'll put you on TV.
All right.
So it's like that. And the show is great in that regard. The actual show, Rick and Morty, it seems like it's going to be an episodic
Did they have a
comedy show.
time traveling car?
They don't really time travel, but they have basically the Doc comes back home to live with his family that he'd abandoned for a long time. So like his children and their children and all that.
He had
And,
children?
Yeah.
Okay.
And they don't
So
give
they're
you
really throwing the Back to the Future out the window. Here.
Yeah, Rick and Morty, vague scientist stuff. That's about as close of a link as you get. Oh, and there's an older guy and a younger guy who team up.
Okay.
That is literally as close as you get to Doc Brown and Marty McFly.
All right.
But basically, he is the smartest human being, maybe the smartest thing in the universe.
I thought you said it was far away from Back to the Future, but still sounds a lot like
Doc
Back
Brown
to
wasn't
the Future.
that smart. He fucked up a lot of things.
So you say.
And he's also a complete asshole and alcoholic.
Okay. So it still sounds like Back to the Future.
But I don't think he was much of an asshole, and I don't think he was an alcoholic. And he definitely didn't want oral sex. So, and Morty is his pretty dumb and meek grandson.
Still sounds like Back to the Future.
And they end up going on adventures, but it starts completely in media res, doesn't explain shit.
So like all these other Cartoon Network shows.
Except, unlike what you would expect from a show like this, it's really funny, one, if you like that sort of pornographic vandalization humor, but it also has a really...
But it's toned down.
It's toned
It's
down.
not seeing a ghost, it's just smelling a ghost.
It is on the level.
Hearing a ghost in the other room.
It is one step beyond Old Ren and Stimpy on that absolute scale.
Mm-hmm.
One step worse or better, depending on your perspective, than Ren and Stimpy.
More.
It's a lot more violent and callous, but at the same time, it's a show that has a surprising depth of characters. Like every character grows rapidly. The show doesn't it kind of is a parody of these kinds of shows, but it doesn't reset itself. Consequences happen, and a few episodes later, you realize the world of the show has changed substantially, and it gets poignant, serious, real, and it is surprising how much this show affected me watching it. You would not expect watching the first few episodes of the show to have a real and deep emotional attachment to these characters. And yet, everyone I know who has watched this show the entire first season, and they're short seasons, they're like a few episodes. It's a great show.
How many total episodes are there?
There are 21 total across 2 seasons.
All right, that's not too bad.
Yeah, it's a really short show. You can just bang through it. But the end of season 2, now that it's kind of out, I'm going to say straight up, this is a great show. And I actually think the only people who should not watch Rick and Morty, if you are actually seriously triggered by really callous violence and occasionally extremely...
How do you watch anything on TV?
Yeah, but particularly, don't watch Rick and Morty. If you are bothered by those things, but otherwise can watch stuff, there are 2 episodes of Rick and Morty to skip.
I have this thing called Ebola syndrome you should watch.
Ebola syndrome was more enjoyable than that independent thing I was talking about before. Because Ebola syndrome, the whole time was me
You never thought about getting up and walking out in Ebola syndrome, did you?
I did, actually, at one point. I was very close to getting up and walking out at one point. I stayed to the end out of, deep, morbid curiosity if it could get any worse. And it was worth it for the last 3 seconds of that film. The last 3 seconds of that film.
The rat on the street?
No, the rat was a little bit before that. When the guy wins, the end of the movie is just the guy with the gun just runs up and just kind of bang, 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 and shoots the guy dead at the end. Anyway. But Rick and Morty's really, really, really good. It has real characters. It deals with real issues. And I actually find it incredibly funny. And I cannot name a similar show with a similar aesthetic and brand of humor. I can't name anything that I'd compare it to, really. So it's worth watching, if nothing else, because it's very different from everything that I'm watching. I'm watching this alongside...
If you add up the length of all the episodes together, how long is each episode?
About 24 minutes, standard TV show.
24 times 21.
It's 21 episodes. It's shorter than one season of anime to watch the entire
It's like
thing.
400 minutes?
Yeah.
So it's like watching Colorful twice.
Yeah. I think... I'm not going to say it's better than Colorful. That is a road too far. But I'm watching Rick and Morty, BoJack Horseman, My Little Pony, the new season, Adventure Time, Gravity Falls.
I'm watching The Man Who Punches Only One
Yeah,
Time.
about that. Rick and Morty is near the top of all those. I like it more than I like the current season of My Little Pony.
I haven't watched My Little Pony since a long time ago.
You should, because actually the current episodes are this shy of season 3.
By the way, that is not on Hulu.
Yeah, that is. You know where that is? That's on Torrent Freaks.
Sure.
And Kick-Ass Torrents. It's
That's
not
fine.
even on Pirate Bay.
That's fine.
Yeah. But Ponies is worth watching right now. It's actually way back up there. Like there's like 3 episodes in a row that are basically rarity episodes.
3 in a row. Usually they kept alternating to mix it up.
After the first few episodes of the season, which were not great, suddenly they started like one episode literally picks up immediately after the previous episode, like the same scene, and just keeps going with the same characters. It's just more rarity, and there's like 4 or 5 new named characters that keep showing up, and it's the show's grown up a little bit.
I don't know any of them.
Yeah, you will. Rarity hired a manager for her second boutique.
Okay.
Yeah, and the manager's still in the show, like just there, like talking to them. It's weird. But yeah, watch Rick and Morty. It's really good. And if you doubt me, at least watch the entire first season. And if you feel nothing, if you are not moved by that human drama, and it might seem weird that I'm telling you this when you start watching Rick and Morty, especially when he's telling Morty to just shove those seeds way up his butt. But seriously, the show is really good. It's up there with BoJack Horseman in terms of real human feelings and emotion, and also horrific sex and violence jokes, all mixed into one weird show.
Rim loves the horrific shit.
Well, I really like her potato knishes. This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not 1, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.
Potato garnishes. Potato garnishes. I love potato garnishes. This machine creates potato garnishes. This is where I make potato garnishes. The magic and the mystery of potato garnishes. Little black squash balls.